Hey everybody, it's Fox. I want to talk about water. For many of us, it's an easy thing to take for granted. I know I do from time to time. Water has taken the spotlight as of late due to the fact that we keep finding it all over the place. Most recently, 3 lakes of the stuff on Mars. Its properties are also extremely weird and surprisingly controversial. It covers over 70% of our planet's surface and permeates everything from the air we breathe to the trees lining our streets to our very bodies, and is also essential in the fabrication of everything you see around you. Do you have a smart device? It took over 3,000 gallons of water in order to manufacture your phone. Drive a car? It took between 13,000 and 22,000 gallons of water to manufacture that. Suffice to say, without water, we literally wouldn't exist or have the ability to manufacture a single screw. I want to focus most of this time on water's properties though. That's where all the weird is. But before we dive into that, I want to thank everyone who has subscribed. I'm having a ton of fun watching our small group grow, a little bit every day, and you really do make this fun. Thank you. And if you haven't already, join the conversation, subscribe. My intent is to post new content regularly and would love for you to be part of the conversation. Moving on. I think one of the weirdest things about water is that it can dissolve more substances than even sulfuric acid can. Think about that for a second. Sulfuric acid comes in second to water. Water dissolves so many things that has been controversially described as a universal solvent. The controversy of that name comes from the fact that calling it universal is an obvious exaggeration. If it was truly universal, we'd all be piles of goo. I'm quoting from the USGS.gov website now. They have a great explanation as to why water dissolves so many things. They explain it as such. It is water's chemical composition and physical attributes that make it such an excellent solvent. Water molecules have a polar arrangement of the oxygen and hydrogen atoms. One side, hydrogen, has a positive electrical charge, and the other side, oxygen, has a negative charge. This allows the water molecule to become attracted to many other different types of molecules. Water can become so heavily attracted to a different molecule, like salt, that it can disrupt the attractive forces that hold the sodium and chloride in the salt molecule together, and thus dissolve it. When I stumbled upon this little factoid, I couldn't help but think of M. Night Shyamalan's movie, Signs. I used to laugh at the idea that water was the alien's worst enemy, but after reflecting on its corrosive power, that particular movie detail made so much more sense, and appears now to be more clever than absurd. A personal story about water. I live in a prairie city, in Canada. To the east of me is hundreds of kilometers of flat prairie land. We joke that you can watch your dog run away from your house for weeks on end. And to the west of me are some of the largest, most amazing mountain ranges our planet boasts. Water, in my neck of the woods, is derived through glacial melt and from ground reservoirs. As our climate changes, potable water is expected to become more and more scarce. It's one of the reasons I advocate for building a desalination plant in the prairies. People's heads spin when I mention building a desalination plant in a landlocked prairie environment. But hear me out. I think it actually makes sense. 90% of our groundwater is salt. It seeps in from the Pacific Ocean, across British Columbia, under those massive mountains and pools below us. The fresh water, being lighter, floats to the top, and the salt water, being heavier, which makes up the vast majority of our groundwater, sinks to the bottom. Currently, we pull water from the top freshwater portion of our groundwater. If we had desalination plants in the prairies, we'd be able to exploit the gargantuan amount of salt water right under our feet. It makes sense, and I can imagine that such a thing could be duplicated and scaled up throughout the world in areas that are water stressed. It's an idea I haven't seen explored, and there may be good reasons for that. If you are aware of them, let me know in the comments. Now, here are a handful of quick facts about water that I want to share prior to jumping into the oddest attribute of our liquid friend. Water is the only chemical compound that can exist in 3 forms: liquid, solid, and gaseous. Water has been detected on numerous planets and their moons in our solar system, including our moon. No doubt we can expect to run into it in every other solar system out there, all 100 or so sextillion of them. The first ever known vending machine dispensed holy water back in the 1st century AD. Hot water freezes faster than cold water. We have an annual science experiment that we do here in the north. When it gets really cold, like 40 degrees Celsius below, we like to boil water, then step out in those frigid temperatures and let it fly and watch what happens. I think this year I'm gonna do it again, only do the same thing with some room temperature water and see if I can tell the difference. We're simple folk. Now, for the oddest thing about water. You've probably heard that water has memory. This is perhaps the most controversial attribute of water. Many chalk this particular phenomena up as pseudoscience, but I'm not convinced of this. The initial findings by early experiments have been duplicated, which makes the science more convincing. The controversy probably resides in the language we use to describe this phenomenon, the word memory itself. When we hear the word memory, we apply our experience as thinking beings. We have to think to recall something from our memory. But water's memory is more like memory in your computer. Even after wiping your hard drive, remnants of the data will still be there, and, with some elbow grease, is still retrievable. There have been a series of experiments in numerous nations across the globe that have attempted to bring clarity to the water has memory debate. But let me fall back a bit, start at the beginning. It all started in 1985, when a scientist, last name Benveniste, first diluted a substance in water, then proceeded to dilute the water so much that the original substance couldn't possibly have remained in any detectable amount in the water. But surprisingly, after testing the diluted water again, the original substance was still detected. Benveniste's work was published in Nature in 1988 and was immediately contested, as all good science should be. A group of scientists from London's University College attempted to recreate Benveniste's experiments and failed to achieve the same results. So, end of story? Not even close. Years later, 4 independent research laboratories in France, Italy, Belgium, and Holland attempted Benveniste's work again under some strict blind tests and were astounded when his original findings were duplicated. When Benveniste heard of the results, he lamented that we were simply back to where we started 12 years ago. I'm convinced water retains the memory of past things dissolved in it. The thing that strikes me the most about this idea is that our body's composition is mostly water. Water that has been recycled through our planet an unknowable amount of times over millions of years. The water in your body right now has been here on Earth for millions, if not billions of years, and literally has a cosmic origin. One can only imagine how many things have been diluted in the water that makes up your body. Like I said, it has cosmic origins. The water in your body may very well have coursed through the veins of an alien species at one time, or spent millions of years in organic matter on the other side of the universe, only through absurdly improbable circumstances find its way here and into you. So, if that water has memory, what memories are locked and hidden literally inside all of us? And like a wiped hard drive, is there a way to retrieve these memories? What stories could the water pumping through our bodies right now tell us? Thank you for listening. If you like my work, please hit that like button and consider subscribing. And remember, this ride is not without risk. Be careful out there, and take care.